I'm Guy Kesterman, the Tester Man. Today, obviously I'm out testing some stuff, including WTB Resolute tyres on my Stig. But the main thing we're doing is trying out options for some new off-road cycle routes here on the edge of the North York Moors with Don Barry, North York Moors National Park, and Adrian Carter off of Pace Cycles. But we've had a fantastic day out. I mean, I'm shooting the intro at the end, deal with it. But basically, the riding's been superb, exactly what you'd hope for on gravel riding on the edge of the North York Moors. You know, a mix of stunning views, single track. You'll see all this. This is what's coming up. Don't need to give you a teaser. It's beautiful out here. But the biggest issue with these trails really is not planning them, it's what to call them. Because is gravel the future of mountain biking? Because it certainly seems to be the part of biking that's growing in terms of users and bike sales. Or is mountain biking the future of gravel? Or ultimately, does it even matter? So, let's get some riding in, see what thoughts we can come up between us. Riders have been exploring the byways, mountains and hills of the world on bikes for well over a century. On all sorts of different species of velocipede. But there are now more ways of riding these trails than ever. So I'm on my Stig on 50mm tyres with a suspension fork, which is about as mountain bike as you can get and still be classed as a gravel bike. Adrian's on a 529, classic steel trail hardtail from Pace. And then Delm's on the freaky 429 with those dropper bars, rigid fork, but mountain bike tyres and mountain bike geo. So, what are we going to call it? Is this still gravel? Is it mountain biking? And I'm sure I could put some kind of clickbait headline on this where I go, so what's the best bike for this kind of riding? And you know, is gravel the future of mountain biking, or is mountain biking the future of gravel, or is gravel just what mountain biking has always been to a whole ton of people? Anyway, it's a bloody lovely day here in Yorkshire, so I thought we might have an interesting chat. I'm showing you around the local. And the thing is, you know, Adrian was riding enduro before mountain bikes were a thing. You know, he invented one of the first UK mountain bikes with the RC100 off his experience as a motorbike enduro and trials rider. And Dom rides enduro as well. He races his hard rock enduro, does all the tasty trails. So, but both of them equally enjoy being out here in the wilds. Yeah, they're going to drop me on the descent so I can pretend it's not the bike this time. Right, have a super day. And I was riding these hills on drop bar bikes back in the mid-80s because my mum wouldn't buy a mountain bike. I was trying to convince her that Ridgeback would be awesome for going shopping and I could borrow it, hey up, at the weekends, but she wasn't having any of it, so my door super lightning just got pressed into rough stuff in service. And of course, gravel biking, it's just renamed mixture of touring and rough stuffing And that's been going on for bloody years. Again, over a century of history of that. But you can't deny they've definitely got the marketing right. Because XC mountain biking now, it's kind of got, oh, it's just race vibe, isn't it? It's tortured looking people in skin suits, smashing themselves around increasingly terrifying loops. You know, even the courses, it's kind of a double whammy of putting people off. You obviously need this hyper fitness. But now the courses look, in many ways, more gnarly than the enduro stuff, because they're riding them with their heads down on super low bars with their asses up in the air. It just looks horribly sketchy compared to downhill. Whereas gravel has just been marketed from the start as a really sort of fun, focused, inclusive, welcoming, it's a much broader demographic. A lot of the events, you know, are focused on the sort of social aspect and just getting out and enjoying being in nature, as they say. And the other thing, brilliant thing about gravel, or whatever you want to call this kind of riding, is you don't have to build new trails that then people say aren't rad enough, you know, they don't use them, and your state-of-the-art visitor centre ends up being abandoned, like Cody Brennan and all the other Welsh trail centres we're seeing in trouble at the moment. You know, the actual infrastructure is already there, but it still brings in, beautiful for the camera, Adrian, it still brings in all that same money and visitor numbers, boosts rural economies in the same way that mountain biking did when those trail centres took off in the first place.
As much as the sun was beautiful out there, it was bloody cold. So we've come back into Sutton Bank Bikes now to kind of just have a bit of a roundup discussion really about the whole gravel bike, mountain bike thing, and try and work out what, I mean, because we've already had this chat, haven't we? What do we even call it? Do we call them gravel bike routes? Which is the kind of the easy sell, isn't it? Because that's what's in fashion.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying I quite like all-terrain routes.
Yeah.
Just looking at the variety of bikes that we were out on today, all still having a good time, but kind of not pigeonholing it to curly bars.
Yeah, because all-terrain, that was the original contender, before mountain bikes took over.
MTB and then MTB.
Yeah, or Vélo tout-terrain, which I still think is the best one. I still think the French have it best.
Yeah.
VTT, I think, is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, or do you go for something completely esoteric and go like an adventure bike route?
Yeah.
You know, and does that appeal more to you kind of... Because I think the thing... Because you're obviously, as someone who works at North York, you're obviously a stakeholder, as what you would call, what is referred to as a stakeholder when you're talking about land access and things like that. Someone who's kind of representing the land and the use of it, and you're looking at cyclists as a... what's your specific role there?
So yeah, I'm cycling development manager, which is, I guess just making the North York Moors a kind of cycling destination. But yeah, obviously appealing to family market and people that want, you know, maybe a multi-day route.
Yeah.
Which I guess for me, maybe adventure's more a kind of multi-day thing, but actually, you know, that's what I maybe think adventure is kind of...
Yeah, well, it depends on, I guess it depends what your level of challenge is.
Yeah.
You know, just going 20 kilometres for some people is a big adventure.
Yeah,
it'll be a big day out for a family, is that? You know, it's something far more adventurous than doing it at centre parks or something like that, for example.
It comes down to what you're riding actually makes it sometimes more adventurous or not.
Yeah. I mean, I think I had more of an adventure in certain bits on a gravel bike today than perhaps you did on some sections. You know, it's all relative, really.
It's all relative and depends how capable you are. You know, you get a very capable rider who can ride a shopping trolley down months and World Cup cuts, can't you? That doesn't necessarily mean it's the appropriate...
Yeah, I am looking at you here, Adrian, as well. Because You know, because you've been in it, you've seen the complete development of mountain biking. But you've always kind of, I mean, you were one of the first builders of a specific downhill bike with the DPD.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And you came from an enduro background. You were doing that.
Motorcycle, not bicycle.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, what's your opinion on sort of the way mountain biking's going at the moment? In
terms of what's appropriate for a certain trail, do you mean?
Yeah, or the kind of what, you know, how it, because it seems quite binary now almost.
I was, well, certainly when I'm designing a bike, I kind of always think of it. I mean, we specialise in off-road bikes at pace, so I don't ever consider road. But the way I always look at design, how appropriate it is for a given use or a given trail, I just think of it in percentage terms. So you'd have from 0% being pure road, what's the purest road, a time trial bike, to 100% off-road, which would be a downhill World Cup bike. So where in that scale does it cross from being a road bike or more appropriate to road to being more appropriate to off-road? So with that analogy, you'd say, well, if it was a current conventional gravel bike, best case that would be 40%. It's primarily road, but it's gradually towards
it's for off-roadies.
But it's more 40% road, you know, that's not 60% off-road. Whereas, say with our 429 and 529, which are hardtails, they're probably 50 or 60% more appropriate for road. So now you're getting into the domain of riding off-road, of course, rather than on the road.
Yeah.
Through to trail bike, which might be 70, long travel trail bike 80, enduro bike 90, and you know. So I always think in terms of where it sits in that scale and where I'm trying to target it.
But the 429 that Dom was riding today, and it's just behind you there. I mean, that's a bike that kind of encapsulates almost the confusion of mountain biking, but you can see it's confusion in one way, but also the versatility of that kind of gravel to mountain bike crossover. Yeah,
well, certainly with this bike, I was trying to hit that middle ground. I was trying to get it truly and genuinely into 50%. So it was 50% very capable off-road, as well as on-road. So it wasn't just a road bike with a nod in terms of geometry and tyres, which a conventional gravel bike
but as we've seen,
step away from a road bike.
But Dom's been rolling away from, rolling equally easily on the road as me on a gravel bike.
Yeah.
But are you... So I guess my conceit with this whole idea is gravel biking the future of mountain biking? Do you see gravel biking as bringing in a lot of new people to mountain biking? I mean, either you or Dom on that one. Can you see a conversion? Pete, because you've run Top of the Rock, the gravel event up here, but a lot of people ride that on a mountain bike anyway.
Yeah, they do, but that's kind of because it's typically pace. We do that in our own quirky way, and our vision was with that particular event is let's just push the envelope of what you are capable of riding on a gravel bike, because we always know that in any of these disciplines. People always start to push the boundaries, don't they, and what they're capable of. And so we wanted that particular event to actually do exactly that. So it really pushed gravel bike riders, which really made it, is this actually a mountain bike route rather than a gravel route? But that so much of it was on the road and on true gravel trails. It was just when you had a big single track technical section.
Yeah.
Where very capable riders on a gravel bike were very capable of riding it, whereas others just found it hell. And I suppose at the end of the day, with gravel riders, I think we're definitely within the industry seeing a bigger crossover from the road into gravel for safety reasons, if for no other reason. Yeah. But a lot of those guys who are not off-road riders think off-road is riding around a forest road and are very happy simply to do that.
Yeah.
But there must be, with sufficient riders, a proportion of those who actually want to go further and want to ride single track.
Or they ride Top of the Rock and go, it looked like it was a lot easier on a cross-country hardtail.
Yeah.
Maybe you should... I think that's what I'm kind of getting at. I think there's a big growth to come from a few gravel riders. Because we're old school mountain bikers, all of us, really. We'll always try and push a bike as far as we can off-road.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is, and gravel's just an excuse to be able to do that kind of on trails that wouldn't challenge us normally. We'll find the terror and the
Yeah,
an
it is.
amusement on it.
Yeah, it is. But it's like I said earlier that if you're a capable rider, you can steer a shopping trolley down a World Cup course.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it isn't appropriate, is it?
No,
Really?
but
And
then-
in many ways, if it's a conventional gravel bike, is it really appropriate to shoving it down a very technical trail? It can be thrill now and again, but maybe you should actually ride a mountain bike and do more of that. If it's thrilling, then do more of the thrill.
Or is it entirely up to you?
Or of course it's entirely up to
Yeah.
you. And like you were saying earlier, it blurs even more because sometimes these gravel bikes have a flat bar and they have bigger discs.
Yeah, I mean, now we're seeing Leadville racing on
Yeah.
full suspension mountain bikes with a drop bar and 2.2-inch tyres.
It's a mountain bike.
Yeah. Is it a drop bar mountain bike or is it a full suspension gravel bike?
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? Really, and there's no right or wrong way to this at all, is there?
No.
And if these trails we were to call them adventure trails, I think that actually takes mountain biking back to its roots because I think originally mountain biking was about the adventure of it, riding a bike in areas you would never have conceivably done it before, and then you could.
Getting away from cops, cars and concrete, as the
Yeah.
Californians used to say, just getting out into the wild.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think sort of mountain biking and gravel have lost that a little bit. And I guess trail centres have got in the way of that exploration and adventure. But now maybe I think a lot more people are riding backcountry, boony type riding, aren't they? And exploring more.
Yeah, well, there's a huge
bike packing.
Yeah, there's a huge population who were doing it anyway, who were kind of ignored by the media and were carrying on. They're the guys who turned up to start at the top of the rock. I mean, I met people who I hadn't seen since like the early 90s, since I worked in like cycle works, like John Airside and people like that. I'm like, bloody hell.
Yeah.
He was racing the world champs in 1990 Saturday Boy at Cycle Works.
Yeah, that's right.
And then it's like, bloody hell, John, you still out here? It's like, yeah, of course I am.
Yeah.
Still doing this. But I can remember like in 2000 when we used to still like talk about polarities and stuff in Maximum Mountain Bike, people were like, oh no, it's over now. And it's all North Shore, it's all free ride and stuff like that. Because it was the more captivating, more sort of angry image.
Yeah.
But I think, again, I like to kind of talk to Dom on this. Do you think that's now becoming part of the issue with mountain biking, why mountain biking is kind of seen as something almost undesirable in some ways, because it's got so progressive now, and a lot of the trails that people want aren't being served by the sort of official trail builders in many cases. I'm getting the growth of cheeky trails and this kind of just proper super steep, very technical. I mean, it's not compared to gravel, which is sort of super inclusive and kind of non-threatening. It's a really exclusive thing now, mountain biking in many ways. Certainly the mountain biking that's being pushed by the media. Cheeky trails in your local woods, Shroudpin and stuff. Anyway, I'll let you talk.
Yeah. Well, and obviously its roots came from kind of BMXing and that kind of background. And now all that North Shore stuff's kind of probably gone. Now we got the kind of growth of enduro. But yeah, I think, and also I guess trail centres as well have become very popular, and now people are kind of looking beyond the trail centre, whether that's with cheeky trails in the woods or going beyond the trail centre and going on kind of longer adventure rides per se, and looking for those bridleways that haven't been ridden for a few years. So, but yeah, and then coming back to gravel is obviously great because it's kind of an inclusive area within the sport that is growing, bringing people from road and also kind of suitable for a family market.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we go with adventure routes or explorer routes.
Yeah. Like the OS maps.
Yeah. I think also that trail centre culture, unfortunately, has stopped people understanding how to read a map.
Yeah.
How to adventure further. They often stay within, I'm generalising here, of course, but stay within the confines of the trail
Following way
centre.
markers.
Yeah. Following way markers. So the concept we've got here is to have longer distance trails that will be waymarked. So it does kind of entice you out of the trail centre because people often are comfortable in following a waymarked route, but it's not a conventional mountain bike trail. It's
there are options you can get wrong. You can.
What it is, we don't really know, but it does lead them out. But the bike part wasn't, and that was the original concept for Sutton Bank, is to call these trails that have as marked trails adventure trails,
Yeah.
rather than a mountain bike trail, because immediately people think of a trail centre. Well, it's actually not a trail centre.
Yeah.
You're taking natural trails.
Or they turn up with a
and leading
6-inch
you down
travel
them.
bike and go,
Whereas
Yeah.
the berms and
yeah.
and jumps,
Indeed. Yeah. And of course, there's a place for all that, isn't there? And I suppose the more focused areas now for that are either somewhere like Bike Park Wales or the off-piste trails that guys are building for themselves because they can't find what they want to ride officially.
Yeah. But presumably, sorry, I'm going to let you answer this. I'm not going to presume anything. If you're in conversation with landowners, because you were at Forest Commission before and now North Moors, if you're in conversation with landowners or other people and you're talking about bike access, is it an easier conversation to have saying, we want we're looking at putting a mountain bike route in here because people's perception is like, oh, mountain bikes, full face, line of transit vans and transporters in the woods, cans of Monster lying about, or a gravel route.
Exactly. What's going to come across a little bit softer to a bridleway passing through a farmyard, if that's kind of tailored to that family market or to mountain bikers, I think that's something we need to be wary of. When we're dealing with kind of landowners where rights of way pass through their land and farmyards and their kind of livelihoods, I guess.
But would you say kind of gravel is almost the easier sell?
Yeah, probably, although arguably would a farmer know what gravel biking is?
Yeah, and also arguably is sending someone down a bridleway and someone who isn't perhaps as hasn't got a mountain biking history behind them actually likely to cause more trouble. Or if they're bike packers, they're not even be shitting in the woods, let alone just digging like snaky trails. That's kind of the irony of it. It's seen as this lovely sort of wholesome thing, but it's actually bringing more people who maybe aren't even we kind of. Yes, there's more of a sort of adventure culture to it, and it all looks great on Instagram, but how schooled are these people in adventure?
That rider might actually be on a full-fat electric mountain bike and goes with his full-face helmet on, roosting through the middle of the farmyard. As unlikely as that actually would be, I would imagine.
Or it might just be someone out of control on a gravel bike, where they would have been completely in control on a full-fat e-bike, because they've got the brakes and the tyres and the geometry to sort it out.
Yeah. I think the difference between adventure trails on bridleways is that the bridleway is a public right of way. You have a right to be there and ride your bicycle on it.
Yeah.
It doesn't define what constitutes a bicycle, as long as it is a bicycle and it's not a motorcycle. And I think that's where the difference here is that if you're a land manager, say on a Forestry Commission estate, liability often is one of your primary considerations and how liable you are if these trails are quite rad. Whereas if you're taking riders out onto a marked trail on a bridleway, you're riding on a public right of way and you have to follow all the country code and the appropriate way to ride, but you have a right to be there.
Yeah.
And there isn't any it's public liability, you take that on yourself.
Right, I see, right. And that's a big distinction then.
Yeah.
So it's not landowner liability,
That's right.
It's the actual highway user liability.
Indeed.
That is massive, actually.
Yeah, if you're on an estate, like the Forest Commission or a private estate, then it may well be argued that they become liable.
Yeah, regardless of whether you're supposed to be there or not.
Yeah, a public bridleway in many ways is no different to a public road, and you driving on it and having to drive with due care and attention, and if you screw up, then
it's on
screw
you.
up.
Yeah, interesting. And this is going to be an interesting one. So, lots to think about, certainly. And remains to be seen exactly what we're going to call these routes, but they're going to be stunning routes. We know that.
Yeah. And riding elevated trails, and particularly on a lovely day like today, it's great.
Yeah,
thrilling, and it's an adventure.
Yeah. So, I'm going to push you for an answer then. Is mountain biking the future of gravel? Is gravel the future of mountain biking, or doesn't it matter? Dom?
I don't think it really matters, but I'd probably more say that mountain biking is the future of gravel.
Yeah,
are you, Adrian?
I absolutely agree with that. Yeah, I would say
so you both see more gravel riders moving into mountain biking, certainly here in the UK for trails like this, where a mountain bike really is kind of more suitable.
Yeah, I think there'll always be a distinction where a lot of gravel riders who are coming from the road, they see gravel riding as riding like a forest road, and that's as far as I'll get, and that's great.
That's absolutely fine.
But people always push the boundaries, don't they?
Yeah.
A percentage always will, and that's where they'll transfer into more of a mountain bike variation of the gravel.
I think that's a great thing as well.
And I think that's.
So I think that's, I don't think cross-country mountain biking should be all skin suits and shaved people and
Yeah, to that.
yeah, it's just playing out on bikes, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's playing out on bikes at the end of the day.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just rolling around in the mud and being big kids.
Yeah. So, there we have it, folks, from our expert panel.
Hastily thrown together.
Exactly. Well, it's mountain biking, isn't it? Yeah. Is gravel better than mountain biking? Is mountain biking better than gravel? Is one bike better than the other? Who cares? I think it's what we can all agree on.
Yeah.
Just ride what you've got, ride what you enjoy riding, where you enjoy riding it, and, well, it's just more people on bikes having a good time, which is always a damn good thing. Right. Thanks for watching, folks. Hope this has been interesting. Thanks to Adrian for his time.
Okay.
Thanks to Dom.
Cheers.
And we'll be back with more news on these trails, whatever they're called, as soon as they're ready. Cheers, folks.